280 Portfolio Review. For this video, we are going to review the work of Winnie Okwukole. She is a former graduate of Wake Tech Community College who has gone on to full-time employment in the field of graphic and web design. Now, today we're going to be looking over her stuff. I hope you see me. I'm in this tiny little window down here. Up here, I don't know, I'll probably move the location of that. But as we go through, I want to talk about a couple of issues. I want to talk about a couple of things that are going right, a couple of things that are going wrong, so that as you look at these, you can take some notes and decide how you're going to work with your materials. So let's get started. This is the portfolio for Winnie Okwukole. She is a former graduate of Wake Tech Community College, and she is currently working in the field of graphic design. So, success. You'll see in here she's got her name in green, she's got a dividing line, and she's got some materials over here. In this time period, we asked students to give us, consider giving us something about them right off the bat, and several students decided that they would find 4 or 5 words. This was an exercise that we used to do in typography, and they would showcase it here. These are things that describe her. She is eclectic, ambitious, reserved, and dynamic. Can you be ambitious and reserved? Can you be reserved and dynamic? Because she can. Second thing, look at this text here. Is this enough text that you would read it, or is it too much? Something to think about. While I like what's going on here, I feel there's a definite difference between this information and that information over here. You know, we see who she is and what she is. This is all about her. You'll notice that the type doesn't really align here. We have a break in space here between the line and this type, but it's not the same as on this side. And these don't really align to any particular grid. The Okwukole doesn't align, the graphic designer doesn't align. And I would like to see that maybe a little bit more. Does this white space in here damage this? I think not. I think all of this white space kind of pushes us over to the important information. Let's go ahead and look over here on piece number 1. Let's go ahead and look over here on piece number 1. All right, so in here, this is the first piece in the portfolio. This is everything that you need to know about this person right away. What is it that you see? What is it that you like? What is it that you don't like? Is there something that should change? And if so, what should it be? Let's move back into this. Certainly you've paused and had a look. First of all, we can tell that the colors here are really vibrant. This blue and yellow, this orange and teal are really popping off the stage. This diagonal line gives us a lot of movement. We come up to the word Pantone color promotion. Then we move sideways into this kind of grayed out number 1 to let us know what piece we're in. This visually brings us down into this Pantone information. So, how many of you are going to read this much text? Is this the amount of text that you feel you'd like to read about a piece? Or do you think you'd like to just look at the piece and get an idea, and then if you have questions, read it? In general, 1 to 3 sentences is probably about what everybody will read, and this is a whole lot of lines. So just kind of think about this text. Now they are using the registered trademark for Pantone. They use it quite a few times in here, so that's kind of interesting, and I like that they're thinking in that manner. One of the issues that does pop up here is they use the word I a lot, and I is a no-no. Design work is not about you. It's not going to be about you. It's always going to be about the client, whoever paid for this, who's their audience. That's what the design piece would be about. So in here, this person says, I designed 4 postcards consisting of spot colors. We can see that because it's inside the portfolio. So just kind of watch out when you say, I did these things, or I created these things. We know that you created them. They're in the portfolio for us to see. Now, they make one other minor error here, and I just want to go ahead and point it out. Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. if somebody knows these software programs, they can probably look at this graphic design and say, all right, they probably used Illustrator in here for some pieces, and maybe they used InDesign. You don't have to tell us that you used other programs. We're smart enough to figure that out. On the other hand, the flip side of that coin is, what if somebody doesn't know? They may not know what they don't know what InDesign is. They might know Photoshop, but what's InDesign? If they don't know, going out of your way to tout that you know something that they don't know, you're using something that they don't know what it is, it's not going to be very effective to them. Instead, leave that off, but wait for someone to ask you, how did you do this? How did you make these little symbols back here? And that's a great time for you to come through and tell them what you've done. And that stops this being a portfolio review and starts this to be an interview. And that's always going to be a great thing. And I forgot what I was talking about. We see the fronts, we see the backs. When looking at this piece, we see this diagonal line that's bringing us up into this area. But it causes us some problems. The space between these two cards and these two cards are not the same. So the grid is being broken. The space between this card and this card is not the same. So we're having a hard time establishing a grid. And even up here in this little space, we're breaking the grid. The vertical line and the horizontal line are not the same, and the horizontal on the left and the horizontal on the right are not the same. So that gives us some problems. Over here in these cards, it's a little difficult to tell, because even though they do have drop shadows, this space and this space are not the same, but there's no border on these cards. So up here, we can see drop shadow on every side. Down here, we cannot, and the paper just bleeds right into these. So make sure that if you're showing a card with white on white, make sure to put maybe like a 60% gray, or a medium opacity color in here. And that will help us out. The back of these looks fine. However, this bottom portion here does not comply with the Postmaster General codes for mailing postcards. So that could cause a problem. The second thing is that this says it's from 2014 Winnie Oquicole. Why did Pantone pay for her to have her name on that stuff? Something certainly to think about here. Again, on the surface, this page looks really nice. We've got a nice bright color. We've got a bit of movement in here. There's a couple things that we can change. And you're going to see as we go through this that there's always going to be some room for improvement. Okay, we move into the second piece here. And you'll notice that right in this space, if you watch the bottom of this 2, the 1 and the 2 are not the same size. The placement of the Pantone in here is not the same size. So while the page size haven't exactly changed, the placement of items from one page to the next page have changed. And that means that there is an inconsistency that's going to show up. As a designer, in a long document like this, you're going to want every page of your portfolio to be consistent. Dropping out of that consistency is going to be a problem. Now, with any long page document, you're going to have a cover, and you can see one right here, and you're going to have at least 2 interior spreads that you're going to show. Again, let's look at this just for a second. How many of you read this material? You know, probably few of you, if any. Again, they're stating some stuff. I created the booklet in a style of a Q&A. I used my art as a theme to convey the topics. This booklet was created for future clients that do not understand the importance of pre-press and what else goes into designing for a project. Maybe that's the right thing to say. Maybe you don't want to say what else. That's up to you. I don't have any issues with it. Just make sure you have an understanding of what you want to say. This pre-press cover is very small. we've got some space in here. But specifically, there's a whole lot of space going on right here. Why is so much of that space going on here? We don't know. But it looks a bit awkward. We've got this weird rag on the left and a justified right, so that we can understand what is inside the book and where this goes. The first page for this is not shown. You can see we start on page 2 and then roll over into page 3 in our document. What's on page 1? We don't know. That page is not shown, and that's okay. You don't have to show everything. But just kind of make sure this person is starting to set a tone with their design, and if the tone is not observed page to page, things start to look strange. And I'll show you what I mean. Over here, you can see we start with one word in bold at the beginning of each of these paragraphs, and it kind of comes over here into these next pages. However, you'll notice that this bold word is at the beginning of a paragraph in sentence form. So is this one. This one appears in the middle of a paragraph with no clear break. Down here, these are one item with space between the paragraphs, except for right here, where the halftone butts right up against the bottom of the other column. Over here on these pages, the bold words appear in the middle of the context with no spaces again. So some inconsistency from one page to the next. Taken on the surface, these pages seem to have a lot to say, and they look like they're laid out for us to view. But as a designer, if these details aren't taken into account, it starts to very quickly look like some details are rushed. Right? So we can see this halftone page is actually this page in the back of the book. That's a nice consistency. We can see that this page 4 and this page 5 roll along with that consistency, and that's great. One problem we can see in here, if you look over on this spot, is we have this big river, this space between words that flows down the page, and there's another one right here that's pretty big. Justification can cause that, and so even when we lay our pieces out, we want to make sure to go back and review every facet of what we're doing. This mock-up has a big shiny spot down the center of where the pages turn. Over here, it's not so bad. Over here, however, it makes it very difficult to see some of this text. And down here in these color areas, it kind of pops up again. Probably would be another good idea to maybe take that section and remove it. Down here, we can kind of see the cover, but it's hidden from us. So on the one hand, it leaves us wanting a little bit more. On the other hand, when you show work but you cover it up, it says something about you that you may want to consider. Not usually a great thing. Okay, here we are at piece 3 in the portfolio. You may notice something is missing now. Where is the text for this document? It's gone. All of our type is gone. We don't have a number anymore. We don't have any descriptions anymore. We don't have anything about what software we're using anymore. We don't know what this product is or what it's for. It's kind of set for us to try to figure things out. We can see it's got a letterhead with print on the back. We can see some business cards. Here is a phone with some stuff in it. Maybe it's a web page. Maybe it's an application. Here is a website with a masonry format, and here's another website. So they're trying to show that maybe this is something which has responsive layouts to it. This page is a little empty. It looks like it has some actual text in there, but we have a tiny little bag with the Q on it, so maybe we're starting to slide into some package design. We have lipstick and a pen. Not really sure what the pen is contributing to what we have going on here. Not really sure about the glasses because this seems to be makeup related, but it could be that this is part of that fashion sense that goes in here. Um, I'm not sure what the pen has to do with the fashion sense. Maybe it has to do with the sleekness of it. So what we can pick up from this is you want to be aware some of these items in here, they might be part of the mock-up, and so you want to leave them in. But if they are not contributing to the portfolio design piece, then it's probably dragging the piece down. All right, Hangman. I think this piece looks great. I have very, very few, if any, issues in here. I think looking at these bottles, which is, I see that these have ragged edges, and then I'm drawn right to the bottles. When I look at these bottles, I see that the graphics look similar enough. I think that the font in here look awesome. I see that they've got a little something in here that makes each one distinctly different than the rest. The neck line up here has these, I don't know what they're called, I'm going to call them collars. Have these collars with colors that match the labels. And I think that's great. The shadow's a bit big, but you know what? It makes it seem real. And when I look at that, and then I look up here and I see this paper, it looks withered and possibly burned, but it's got all these government warnings on it. It's got information about where it is and barcodes, little pictures. Like, this is a solid 100%. This is great, knocks it out of the park. I'd almost suggest she move this right up into piece 2, if not piece 1. The diagonal pieces in the beginning, they were just such a strong color combo that I think it was really nicely done. I might think about moving these bottles up though. Okay, this piece has some problems. Here we're looking at the Ultimate Juicing Guide. What is this? Who paid for this? This is, it looks like at least an 11 by 17 poster in full color. No bleeds, but it's pretty good sized material here. And somebody paid to have this printed. Who? For what? It's hard to tell. Type in here is all over the place. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different type treatments in here easily. You've got some color issues. You've got some readability issues down in here. Type hierarchy certainly needs a little bit of help in here. One of the other big problems, though, is that they have taken one thing, this poster, and they put it in a mock-up here, and they put it in another mock-up here. They're showing the same thing the same way 3 times. It certainly fills the space. I can't really see much in here with this curve that's any different than either one of these others. So this kind of looks like it's just there to fill up space. I will tell each of you, these paper clips hanging posters, that's played out. That was played out in 2015, maybe 2016. But now that it's 2020, these can go. You probably don't want to be showcasing these items. You don't want to cover your work. This piece that's fallen, it's got some of this stuff, but it's covering up your own work. And she does that later. Again, no type, no explanation for these pieces. All right, this Futura material. Again, here's our clips. So even in this portfolio piece, this portfolio, they're showing it twice. You've got a full-size poster, and then you're showing the same full-size poster the same way with the clips in a page. Could have just taken that and zoomed it out to full size. You know, this layout down here is pretty uninspired. I can see 1, 2 widows right off the bat. This font for an article on Futura, that font for an article on Futura don't really showcase well. You've got some readability issues going on in this whole section. But there's also a lot of empty space in here. They could have done some more. So again, we kind of see what's going on here, but some of it is just not performing as well as it could. This would probably have been a great place for a slightly bigger explanation, or maybe doing the type illustration for this gentleman. Okay, let's talk about this piece. This is the gala. I think this looks great. This is a real-life event which this student did as part of their job or as part of their freelance work, and you can see we've got invitations and flyers, and tickets, and programs. These things look pretty darn professional. I like what I see. This shows that someone can do collateral for an event and work with long-page programs. I think this has a lot going on. This is pretty nice. Okay, and here we reach I'm Alive. Clearly they had this illustration that they did. They wanted to showcase it, so they put it on a book. Then they put that book cover up here in this Amazon store, which is fine. I kind of see what they're going with there, but they look kind of the same. It would be really easy for them to have another one of these, maybe like, you know, waldenbooks.com. Is that place even around anymore? Some kind of bookstore, maybe an online website like Amazon.com or something. You know, maybe they could have a slightly smaller one over here as well. They could have really done a little bit extra with this, and there's all this empty space. So I kind of like where this is starting to go. It looks like it's gotten out of the gate, and it looks like it's run a little bit, but it's pulled up just a little bit shy. And because it's pulled up shy, it looks not as complete as it could. So I want to talk about one last thing before we leave this behind, and that is that this is the last page of the book. No thank you for taking your time of looking at the material. Important question. If I liked everything in this book and I wanted to contact this person, how do I do so? There is no contact information in here for this person. No email, no phone number, not what state she's in, not what city she lives in. No information at all. It starts with this as the only cover and no end in sight. So think about, as you looked through this, did you see what you wanted to see? Did you feel like each page was a presentation unto itself? Did you feel like presentation on one page blended well with the other pages in the book? Not every portfolio is going to be 100% fantastic. This portfolio is not 100% disaster. This portfolio is fine. This person was able to take these ideas and this work and move out into the workplace and get a job, and she's functioning now. So don't look to this and kind of think to yourself whether or not these items are working or not working. Just understand that this portfolio has a tale to tell us. It will show us how we can do forward. I appreciate your time today. I hope you've learned a little bit. Go back and review your notes and think about how you're going to lay out your own work. And as always, design your future.